Have you ever had one of those days where you sit down to speak English and your brain just feels full? Like you could understand everything around you. You know you have thoughts, you know you have opinions, you know you have a personality. But when it is your turn to speak, it is like someone turned the volume down inside your head. And then the next thought shows up, the mean one. What is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Why am I so lazy? If that feeling is familiar, I want you to hear this right away. You are probably not lazy. You are mentally overloaded. And there's a big difference. Lazy is not caring. Lazy is not trying. Lazy is choosing not to show up. But what I see in adults who struggle to speak fluently is the opposite. They care a lot. They try hard. They put pressure on themselves. They want to do well. And their mind is carrying so much at the same time that speaking, which should be a simple human thing, starts to feel like trying to juggle 10 fragile glass cups while walking on ice. Mental overload is sneaky because from the outside, it can look like procrastination or avoidance. You do not join the conversation. You do not raise your hand. You keep your camera off. You say, "Sorry, my microphone is not working." You let other people talk first and you tell yourself you will jump in later, but later never comes. And then you go home and replay the moment and you feel heavy and disappointed in yourself. But what if none of that is laziness? What if it is your nervous system and your mind saying, "I cannot carry one more thing right now"? Around this point, if you enjoy this calm, supportive kind of English practice, you can subscribe to the channel. No pressure, just if it helps to have a place where you can breathe a little and feel more confident while you listen. Let me tell you what mental overload looks like in real life, especially when English is involved. Imagine you're in a meeting at work. You are listening carefully. You are tracking the topic. You are trying to understand different accents. You are watching people's faces. You are thinking about the goal of the meeting and what your role is. At the same time, there is a second meeting happening inside your head. Is my English good enough? Did I miss a detail? What if they ask me a question? Should I speak now or wait? If I speak, will I sound childish? Should I use a more professional word? Is my pronunciation embarrassing? Do you feel how much that is? That is a lot. That is not laziness. That is mental overload. And then someone says your name, and what do you think? And suddenly you are not just answering a question. You are performing. Your body reacts like it is in danger. Your heart beats faster. Your mouth gets dry. You feel heat in your face. The words that were sitting quietly in your mind a second ago disappear, and then you blame yourself. I should be better than this. I have studied for years. Why can't I just talk? But the brain under stress does not behave like the brain at peace. A calm brain can access vocabulary, make choices, improvise, and even laugh at little mistakes. A stressed brain gets narrow. It goes into survival mode. It wants to be safe. And for a lot of adults, safety means staying quiet, staying invisible, not taking a risk. This is one reason I really dislike the word lazy in this situation. Lazy is a judgment. It makes you feel like your character is broken. Mental overload is a condition. It means something is happening. It can change. It can be worked with gently. It can be reduced. I have taught so many adults who are incredibly responsible, hardworking people. They manage families, they lead teams, they solve problems, they handle complicated lives. And yet they feel small when they have to speak English spontaneously. Not because they are incapable, but because their mind is doing too much at once. Their mind is trying to be correct, impressive, fast, polite, professional, and clear, all at the same time while also trying to translate and monitor grammar and remember vocabulary. That is like trying to drive a car while also pushing it from behind. So I want to talk today about what mental overload is, why it hits English speaking so hard, and how to make speaking feel lighter, more natural, more like you again. Not perfect, just you. One big cause of overload is overthinking. And I do not mean thinking deeply. I mean that tight, anxious kind of thinking that tries to control everything. The kind that asks 100 questions before you say one sentence. Should I say, I have been, or I was? Do I need the article? Should I say in the meeting or at the meeting? Is it sounds good or sound good? And if you are like many adults, you do this at lightning speed while someone is looking at you, waiting. That is exhausting. And it steals your fluency, not because you do not know English, but because you are putting your attention in the wrong place. When you speak your first language, you do not build sentences like a puzzle. You speak by meaning. You feel what you want to say, and the words come. In English, many adults try to speak by control. They try to force the exact correct structure to appear before they allow themselves to speak. And that is where you get stuck. Another cause of overload is perfectionism. And perfectionism often looks like high standards, but under it, it is fear. It is the fear of being judged, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of sounding less intelligent than you are. And I get it. Because adults have an identity, you have a personality, you have experience, and when English feels limited, it can feel like you are trapped inside a smaller version of yourself. That is painful. So you try to protect yourself by waiting until you can say it perfectly. But there is a problem. Perfect is slow. Real conversation is not slow. Real conversation is messy. People interrupt, people change topics, people do not hear you. People misunderstand, even native speakers. If you wait for perfect, you miss the moment, and then your brain learns a lesson. Speaking is dangerous. Speaking is stressful. Better stay quiet next time. And the cycle continues. Let's talk about the translation habit because it is one of the biggest sources of overload. A lot of adults try to translate word by word. They think in their first language, then they search for English equivalents, then they check grammar, then they speak. But conversation does not give you that kind of time. Conversation asks you to be present. It asks you to respond with what you have. And If your system is built on translation, you will always feel behind. I want you to imagine something. And imagine you are carrying two heavy bags of groceries, one in each hand. Now, imagine someone asks you to run. Not walk, run. You could do it maybe, but it would feel awful. You would feel slow. Things might fall. You might stop and adjust your grip. That is what speaking through translation feels like. Your hands are full. You are carrying too much. Speaking with more ease is like setting one bag down. You still have effort, yes, but you have space, you can move. So how do you set the bag down? You start trusting meaning over perfection. You start letting yourself speak in simpler shapes. You start allowing some sentences to be a little ugly, because ugly sentences still communicate. And communication is the point. I want to normalize something that so many adults are afraid to admit. Sometimes you avoid speaking not because you do not know what to say, but because you are tired. Not physically tired, mentally tired. You have used your brain all day. Work, family, stress, responsibilities, decisions. Then, on top of that, you ask your brain to do English with performance pressure. That is like asking someone to run a marathon after a long shift at work. And then you call them lazy for sitting down. No, they are depleted. This is why some days you feel fluent and some days you feel blocked. It is not random. It is your mental load. If you slept poorly, if you are stressed, if you are worried, if you are trying to multitask, your speaking will feel harder. And then you make it worse by judging yourself. That judgment adds even more load. Think about travel situations. You are at an airport. There is noise, there are announcements. You are watching the screen for your gate. You are worried about time. Maybe you are with family, maybe you are carrying bags. Someone at the counter asks you a question in English. Your brain is already busy, and now it has to perform English. Of course, it feels hard. Of course, you might freeze. That is not laziness. That is overload. Or imagine a casual situation like a coworker chatting in the kitchen. They say something fast with slang. While the coffee machine is loud, you catch part of it. You smile, you nod. You want to respond, but your brain is doing 3 jobs at once: decoding what they said, planning what to say, and worrying about whether you will sound weird. Overload. And then later you think, why didn't I say anything? I am so boring. No, you were overloaded. So what do we do with this? The first step is to stop using shame as motivation. Shame does not make you fluent. Shame makes you quiet. Shame makes you tense. Shame makes your brain protective. If you want more natural English, you need more safety, not more pressure. I want you to try a different inner voice when you notice yourself freezing. Instead of thinking, I am failing, try thinking, my system is full right now. That is all. My system is full. That sentence alone can soften your body. It creates space. It turns the moment into something human instead of something humiliating. Then, give yourself permission to speak smaller. One of the biggest mistakes adults make is thinking that every time they speak, it has to be a full, perfect, impressive answer. But in real conversation, native speakers speak in small pieces all the time. We say things like, yeah, exactly. I think so, maybe. I am not sure. Let me think. That makes sense. I agree. I see what you mean. Can you say that again? These are not advanced sentences, but they are powerful because they keep you in the conversation. They buy you time, they reduce pressure, and staying in the conversation is what builds fluency, not disappearing until you can speak perfectly. So if you feel overloaded, your goal is not to deliver a TED Talk. Your goal is to stay present. Even one sentence is enough. Even 3 words can be enough. You can build from there. Another thing that helps is changing what you focus on when you speak. Many adults focus on themselves. How do I sound? What is my grammar? What do they think? But fluent speaking comes from focusing outward. What do I mean? What do I want them to understand? What is the point I am trying to communicate? When you focus on meaning, your brain organizes language more naturally. When you focus on yourself, your brain gets tense. It starts monitoring and interrupting. It is like trying to dance while watching yourself in the mirror and judging every move. You cannot relax into it. So next time you speak, try this simple shift. Instead of thinking, say it correctly, think, make it clear. Clear is kinder than correct. Clear is realistic. Clear allows mistakes. And yes, mistakes will happen. You will use the wrong tense. You will choose a strange word. You will forget a word you know. You will pronounce something in a way that surprises you. And it will be okay. Most people do not care as much as you think they do. And the people who do judge you for an accent or a mistake are not people you need to impress. I know that is easy for me to say, but it is true. Your job is to communicate and connect, not to sound like a dictionary. I remember a learner once telling me, I feel like I become stupid in English. And I said, no, you become careful in English. You become tense in English. You become monitored. Your intelligence did not disappear. Your brain is just busy managing fear. That is overload again. Let's talk about confidence for a second, because a lot of people think confidence comes first. Like one day you wake up and suddenly you feel brave. But confidence usually comes after action, not huge action, small action, tiny wins, saying one sentence in a meeting, asking one question at the store, making one phone call. Each small moment teaches your brain, I survived. I was understood. I can do this again. That is how confidence grows. It is not a personality trait. It is a collection of experiences. If you want fewer blocks, you also need fewer rules in your head. Many adults carry invisible rules like I must speak fast, I must speak without pauses, I must have a perfect accent, I must not ask people to repeat, I must not make mistakes in front of my boss. These rules create overload. They add weight to every sentence. Let me give you a more realistic set of permissions. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to restart a sentence. You're allowed to say, wait, how do I say this? You are allowed to use simple words. You are allowed to ask, can you repeat that more slowly? You are allowed to say, let me think for a second. These are normal conversation moves. Native speakers use them constantly. They are not embarrassing. They are human. And here is something that surprises people. Pausing can sound confident. A calm pause can sound thoughtful. When you rush because you are afraid of silence, you often make more mistakes and you feel more stressed. When you allow a pause, your brain catches up. Your nervous system calms down. And your words come out more clearly. Another part of mental overload is decision fatigue. Adults make decisions all day, big ones and small ones. What to prioritize, how to respond to an email, what to cook, when to exercise, how to manage money, how to handle family stuff. Then you come to English, and it is more decisions. Which word, which tense, which preposition, which phrase, which tone. Should I be formal or casual? Should I joke? That is a lot of choices. So if you want English to feel easier, reduce choices. Choose a few go-to phrases that you like and use them often. Not because you are limiting yourself forever, but because you are giving your brain a break. When you have familiar phrases, you do not have to build everything from zero. You create a path your brain can walk on quickly. For example, instead of searching for a new way to start every sentence, you might often start with, I think, I feel like. From my perspective, the main point is, what I mean is, these kinds of starters are like handles. They help you pick up the sentence and carry it. And if you are thinking, but Emma, I do not want to sound repetitive. I understand. But repetition is how fluency is built. Children repeat. Native speakers repeat. In stressful situations, everyone repeats. The goal is not to be endlessly original. The goal is to be clear and connected. Now, I want to address something emotional that comes up a lot. Many adults have a deep fear of being seen as less professional, less capable, less educated because of their English. And that fear creates overload before you even open your mouth. You walk into the room already bracing for judgment. You are already preparing for embarrassment. If that is you, I want you to remember this. Your value is not measured by your speed in English. Your intelligence is not measured by your accent. Your professionalism is not measured by whether you say the or a correctly under pressure. You are a full adult. You have knowledge. You have experience. English is just one tool you are using in a high-pressure environment. Of course, it is hard sometimes, and it is okay to let people see you searching for words. That moment of searching does not make you look stupid. It makes you look like someone doing something real. A lot of listeners are surprised when I tell them that many native speakers actually feel respect when someone is communicating in a second language at work. They think, wow, they are doing this all day. That takes effort. Not everyone will think that, but many will. And the ones who do not are not your standard. Let's talk about what you can do in the moment when overload hits. Because it will happen. Even fluent people have days when their brain is slow. Here is what helps. First, slow your body down. Drop your shoulders a little, unclench your jaw, take one easy breath. Not a dramatic breath, just a small reset. Your body and your language are connected. If your body is panicking, your words will hide. Second, simplify the sentence. Say the shorter version. Adults often think the shorter version is childish, but it is usually stronger. Instead of, I would like to take this opportunity to share my perspective regarding the matter, just say, I think the main issue is this. Simple is powerful. Third, if you truly cannot find the word, do not pretend you are fine while suffering inside. Use a bridge phrase, something like, I cannot remember the exact word, but what I mean is, then explain it with the words you do have. This is a real life skill. This is fluency. Fluency is not knowing every word. Fluency is being able to keep going when you do not know a word. And fourth, allow yourself to be human. If you make a mistake, you can correct it quickly and move on, or you can just move on. You do not need to apologize for your English every time. Constantly apologizing trains your brain to see speaking as a problem. Instead, speak as if you belong in the conversation. Because you do. There is another layer of overload. I see a lot. And it is emotional baggage from past experiences. Maybe a teacher corrected you harshly. Maybe someone laughed. Maybe you had a humiliating moment in a meeting. Maybe you were ignored because your English was slower. Those moments leave marks. Your brain remembers. It tries to protect you from feeling that again. If you have those memories, be gentle with yourself. Your nervous system learned something. It learned that speaking equals danger. Now you are teaching it something new. You are teaching it that speaking can be safe, that mistakes can be normal, that you can recover, that you can still be respected. That takes time. It is not fixed by pushing harder, and it is fixed by building safety through repeated, manageable experiences. That is why I always prefer a calm approach. You do not need more pressure, you need more ease, you need repetition without fear. You need to hear English in a way that feels like it is for you, not against you. So here is a gentle reflection. What if the reason you avoid speaking is not that you lack discipline, but that you are protecting yourself from overload? What if avoiding is not your personality, but your coping strategy? What if the goal is not to force yourself to speak perfectly, but to make speaking feel safe enough that you naturally want to speak more? And safety can be created in small ways. Practice speaking when you are alone, not as a performance, but as a warm-up. Talk to yourself while you cook, describe what you are doing. Say your opinions out loud when you watch a show. Not because you need to, but because it makes speaking less rare. When speaking becomes normal, it becomes less threatening. Also, choose lower pressure moments to speak with people. Not every conversation has to be with your boss or in a big group. If you can, talk to someone friendly. Talk to a coworker you trust. Talk to a neighbor. Talk to a cashier. Small interactions are like training your nervous system to stay calm while speaking. And when you have a conversation that goes well, even if it was simple, notice it. Let yourself feel it for a second. A lot of adults only collect failures. They only remember the awkward moments. They forget the normal moments, the successful moments, the times they were understood. But your brain needs evidence. It needs proof that you can do this. So collect those wins, even tiny ones. Now, I want to speak to the person who feels like they should be further along. The person who says, I have studied for years. I should be fluent. I should not struggle like this. That word should is heavy. It creates overload by itself because it turns your English into a moral issue, like you are doing something wrong as a person. But language is not a straight line. Fluency is not just time spent studying. Fluency is comfort. And comfort depends on your life, your stress, your personality, your environment, your opportunities, your nervous system. You might have strong reading skills and still struggle with spontaneous speech. That is normal. Speaking is a different skill. It is fast, it is social, it is emotional, it involves identity. It is not just vocabulary. It is courage, plus practice, plus being present. So if you feel behind, I want you to consider a different question. Instead of, what is wrong with me? Ask, what is making this feel heavy right now? Is it fear of judgment? Is it stress at work? Is it lack of sleep? Is it trying to be perfect? Is it translating everything? Is it comparing myself to someone else? Is it a memory from the past? When you name the weight, you can start to put it down. Let's also talk about comparison. Comparison is like adding 10 more tabs to your brain. You are trying to speak, and at the same time, you are watching someone else in your mind. They speak so smoothly, they use jokes, they use advanced vocabulary. Why not me? And now you are not just speaking, you are competing. That is overload again. There will always be someone who seems more fluent, but you do not know their story. You do not know how many hours they practice, what their job requires, how many chances they have to speak, how comfortable they feel socially, or how much they are hiding their own insecurity. Focus on your next step, not their level. If you are someone who freezes, I want to offer a very specific comfort. Freezing is not proof that you cannot speak. Freezing is a stress response, and stress responses can change. The way out is not to attack yourself. The way out is to lower the threat level. Make the moment smaller, use simpler language, allow pauses, let yourself be imperfect. Here is another truth. A lot of adults are carrying not just English, but life in general. Sometimes you are not lazy, you are grieving. Sometimes you are not lazy, you are burned out. Sometimes you are not lazy, you are lonely. Sometimes you are not lazy, you are trying to hold everything together. And when you are in that state, asking your brain to be quick and fluent and charming in English is a huge ask. So be kind to yourself. If you can only do a little today, do a little. Listening counts. Noticing counts. Showing up counts. Your brain is still absorbing. Your ear is still learning rhythm. Your intuition is still building. Even when you do not feel progress, something is happening. I also want to talk about intuition because this is where fluency starts to feel natural. Adults often do not trust their intuition in English. They want certainty. They want rules. They want guarantees. But speaking is not a test, it is a living thing. You have to guess sometimes. You have to choose a word that feels right and keep going. And yes, sometimes you will choose wrong, and then you will adjust next time. That is how language works. Think about how you learned to speak as a child. You did not wait until you were perfect. You tried. You made mistakes. People understood you anyway. You learned through experience. You can do that now too, even as an adult. The difference is that now you have pride and self-awareness and fear. So the practice is not just speaking. The practice is allowing yourself to be a learner without losing your dignity. One way to build intuition is to stop demanding that every sentence be perfect and start paying attention to what you hear. When you listen to English, notice chunks. Notice how people naturally say things, then borrow them, use them, let them become yours. This reduces overload because you are not inventing everything. You are using real language that already exists in your memory. And if you are thinking, but I know so many words and I still cannot speak, that makes sense too. Knowing words is not the same as being able to access them under pressure. Access is about comfort. Comfort is about safety. Safety is about lowering overload. That is the chain. So let's create a calmer picture of what progress looks like. Progress might look like speaking a little slower but feeling more relaxed. Progress might look like making a mistake and not panicking. Progress might look like asking someone to repeat without feeling ashamed. Progress might look like joining a conversation for 30 seconds instead of staying silent. Progress might look like laughing when you forget a word instead of collapsing inside. This is real progress. This is the kind of progress that leads to fluency you can actually use. Before we finish, I want to give you a small mindset shift to carry with you. When you feel overloaded, do not ask yourself, how do I speak perfectly? Ask yourself, what is the easiest way to say this? What is the simplest sentence that still communicates my point? What can I say right now with the English I have today because you have English today? Maybe not the English you want yet, but enough to be present, enough to connect, enough to try. And one more thing. If you ever catch yourself thinking, I am lazy, I want you to pause and challenge that thought gently. Ask yourself, if my friend felt this way, would I call them lazy? Or would I say, you have a lot on your mind. You are doing your best. You are under pressure. You need rest and practice and kindness. Give yourself that same kindness. You do not need harshness. You need steadiness. So the next time you feel blocked, I want you to remember this episode. That heavy feeling is not proof that you cannot do it. It is a signal. Your mind is full. Your system is overloaded. and you can respond in a new way. You can slow down. You can simplify. You can stay in the conversation with a small sentence. You can let yourself be human. You can let the moment be imperfect and still be successful. And over time, those small moments build something strong. They build trust. Trust in your ability to communicate, trust in your ability to recover, trust in your ability to be yourself in English, not a perfect version, but a real one. Take a breath right now, if you can. Let your shoulders drop. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are carrying a lot. And you are still here listening, still trying, still showing up. That matters more than you think.